Once again, it's on. You know what time it is. It's time to play some toss. So welcome everyone to episode 132, a very perturbed episode 132, and you're going to find out why of Toss, the Tristain on Sports Show. It is your main man, T-Squared, Tristan Thomas, and yeah, I'm agitated. This week, we got to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. An epic collapse has now put them in a 3-1 hole and on the brink of elimination. How did it happen? Why is it happening? Yeah, I'm in a mood. The Green Bay Packers finally executed a trade that everybody knew was going to happen. Some people are still shocked by it for some reason. A sense of sadness, a sense of relief. We'll talk about it. And in the Toss Sweep, we've got to talk about Week 10, regular season finale of the XFL and Division Championship weekend. North Division, South Division, for the rights to go to the XFL Championship game. Exciting times in the XFL, but you know how we get things started here on Toss. We get things started with the state of the state, where we talk about the state of sports in the state of Wisconsin. Yes, a lot of states in there, I know. Trying to make myself feel better by being a little bit redundant, I guess. Because as I mentioned before, in the teaser, the Milwaukee Bucks with an epic collapse. I'm talking epic collapse. I'm talking Packers in Seattle NFC Championship game type collapse. I'm talking Brewers being in the playoffs and leading the division and losing their way out. Collapse. I'm talking Bucks being tops in the Eastern Conference and then forgetting how to play basketball in the second half after the All-Star break and losing their way out of the playoffs type of collapse. That was way back when I was in high school. Different story for a different day. The point is, it was an epic collapse. They're now in the 3-1 hole. Your blueprint was supposed to work here. You felt that you could get Game 3 without Giannis. And Game 3 was an aberration all of itself. Bucks held Giannis out Game 3 because they had confidence that, hey, you saw the way we destroyed this team in Game 2. Absolutely bombarded them from 3. Found a little bit of our defensive swagger. If we could duplicate that again and steal one on the road, bring Giannis back in Game 4, it'd be gravy day. We could get 2 on the road and go home to try and clinch it in 5. Except you showed up to Miami, but you didn't show up for the game. I spoke about it in the Toss blog. You can read that on tossnationmedia.com about Game 3, about there being no effort, a.k.a. no give a damn. Bucks displayed absolutely no heart, no desire to be there, no desire to play the game in Game 3. Had a 21-15 lead, despite not really giving great effort. But it crumbled from there. You let Jimmy Butler get over 30-plus points again. You let the Heat shoot a crazy percentage from 3 again. You let them shoot well over 53% from the field overall again. It's like you learned nothing from Game 1. Game 2 was a fluke. And here you are in Game 3, and you're reverting back to Game 1 habits. Except with far less heart, with far less give a damn. It really felt to me, and it really looked on court as if the Bucks were there in body, but they were not there in spirit. They were not there in heart. Resting their laurels on, hey, Giannis will be back next game and things will be right again. And it's no question that when Giannis is on the court, this is a better team. Captain Obvious. But you went 11-8 in the regular season with it. Now, again, I know it's postseason, different monster. But this stat tracks. You went 11-8 in the regular season without Giannis, which means you find ways to win ball games, whether he's on the court or whether he's not on the court. It is the mark of a good team. It is the mark of a deep team. To win without a two-time MVP, a finals MVP, a champion, a most improved player, a defensive player of the year, one of the best, if not the best in the world. And you're 3 games above 500 without him this season, at least in a regular season. 0-2 without him, or 1-1 without him. Because remember, he did play in game 1. He did leave after the first. Game 2, you won. Game 3, you lost. So really, you're 1-1 without him in these playoffs. You're 0-2 with him in the lineup. Now he came back and he got that smooth triple-double, the way he was orchestrating, and he was moving very, very well, but he was being very careful. I mentioned this on Twitter at the20double. Follow me. That yes, he's moving very well, but he's moving carefully because typically he plays with a lot more power. Played with a lot more finesse last night. I feel that he played a lot more under control. He orchestrated a lot more, but he was still able to get to the cup at will. Triple-double. Multiple block shots. I mean, he was giving it his all. You could still tell he's in pain, and he's going to be probably for the duration of the playoffs, which the way they've been playing may not be that long. You wasted a hell of a game by Brook Lopez, a career playoff high, 36 for him. He had everything going in game 4. But that's also part of the problem. That outside Giannis and outside Brook Lopez, the Bucks got nothing. Drew was atrocious. Chris Middleton was atrocious. And did anybody notice if he was wearing bright orange? Was he wearing blaze orange? Was he wearing neon orange? Because defensively, he's looking like a traffic cone. And I never thought I would see the day where Chris Middleton was a liability on defense. Are injuries a part of that? Possibly. But you're talking for a few years there, he was one of the better two-way players. He's giving it to you defensively and offensively. And now you can't trust him. It's hard to watch. He could give you all the offense in the world, but defensively, he ain't what he used to be. That's a problem. But you gave how many second-round picks to get a Jay Crowder, and he's done nothing. Drew Holiday, give you all the defense in the world. Offensively, he's giving you nothing. Javon Carter, nothing. Pat Connaughton, inconsistent. Grayson Allen, missing wide open threes. But again, Bucks had a 13-point lead. And I remember my lady saying, "Oh yeah, you know they're kicking ass. They got this one." And I'm like, "Okay, stop," because the last time you said something like that, and the game was far from being over, was back in 2014, the NFC Championship game. Packers Seahawks. We know how that one ended. People celebrating before the game's over. And we saw an epic collapse. And that's what we began to see after she made that comment from the Milwaukee Bucks. They had forgotten how to play offense. They had forgotten how to do what works. I mean, that Giannis and Brook Lopez pick and roll was killing the Heat all night. You go away from it, and the one time you do, Jimmy Butler, people forget, the man can play defense. He's also a very smart player. Tells Bam Adebayo, hey, switch up. They try this pick and roll, we're going to switch. We're going to get the defensive matchups we want. And they did that, and they were able to stop that pick and roll. Shout out to Jimmy Butler with 56. Most points in Heat playoff history. You're talking about the likes of a Shaq being there, Dwayne Wade being there, Chris Bosh being there, LeBron James being there, Glenn Rice being there, Alonzo Mourning being there, Jamal Mashburn being there. You've had some guys, some really good players go through Miami and play in the playoffs. And they didn't have the type of game that Jimmy Butler did. Jimmy Butler is pretty much getting that KD treatment from the Bucks defense right now, and they know they can't stop him. Their hope is to stop everybody else, but the thing is they've been able to stop no one. The second worst defensive rating in the playoffs are your Milwaukee Bucks after finishing top 4 in the regular season. I never thought I would see the day where the Bucks defense would be the liability. Where the Bucks defense would be where what's failing them. Not missed threes. Not a wall around Giannis. But defense. And as I'm watching this game, and I'm watching Jimmy Butler just go make play after play after play after play after play. I mean, honestly, this was my honest reaction last night. Watching this game, watching it happen, watching the Bucks just blow the lead, absolutely collapse, implode, cough up this game, and put themselves on the brink of elimination. Yeah. That was my honest reaction. You allowed the Miami Heat to score 30 points in 6 minutes. Let me hit you with that again. You allowed the Miami Heat, a team that was just god-awful in shooting and god-awful in offense at the regular season. And again, postseason is different. But you allowed them 30 points in 6 minutes. You went 4 for 13 from the field in that time. And that was ball game right there. You went from a double-digit lead to a deficit with no time to come back from it. And now you've dug yourself a 3-1 hole that, as I said on Twitter, again, follow me at the20double, that I'm not sure they're going to climb out of. It's been a frustrating watch. I could not watch back any other game. I could not watch any highlight packages. I could not watch anything regarding Bucks or basketball or anything. I stayed away from it because I couldn't stomach it. All the overreactions and people are calling for Mike Budenholzer to be fired yet again. Newsflash, there have been, I believe, 4 1 versus 8 upsets where the 8 seed has knocked off the 1 seed. You talk about the likes of a George Karl and Avery Johnson being at the helm of the Dallas Mavericks. George Karl at the helm of the Sonics when the Nuggets knocked them off. None of those times the coach was fired. So if you're thinking the Bucks get knocked off by the Heat, that spells the end for Mike Budenholzer, you thought wrong. He literally led you to the best record in the NBA without 3 of his best players for a good chunk of the season. Giannis missed big chunks of time. Drew missed big chunks of time. Chris missed big chunks of time. We're not even talking about Pat Connaughton missing at the beginning of the season. We're not even talking about Bobby Portis missing a good chunk of the season in the middle there. Just his big 3 that makes everything go. Still led them to 58 wins, 58-24. Number 1 seed. You're going to let go of that? I mean, you have every right to make it known like, hey, we can't have this happen again. If it does, in fact, happen. But do I see this being the end of Mike Budenholzer as Bucks head coach if he gets knocked off? Or the Bucks get knocked off by the Heat? 1 versus 8? No. Budenholzer will be back. His seat might be a little bit warm, but he'll be back. But this is not the time for overreactions. It's not the time for your worst hot takes or anything else. Bucks coughed that one up because they started not playing smart basketball. They got away from what got them the lead. He didn't do anything special other than make shots. Jimmy Butler taking advantage of a defense that just simply does not want to guard him. Plain and simple. Like I said, he's getting that KD treatment. When the Bucks faced the Nets in their championship run, Bucks came out in 7. But they could not stop KD. But they stopped everyone else, and that was the difference. Well, they ain't stopping everybody else. They let Duncan Robinson find his confidence. He's shooting lights out now. Leading 3-point shooter in the playoffs. You letting guys like Caleb Martin get off, and he's doing all this craziness. Showing you up. You're letting a bunch of undrafted guys bust your behind. Bucks need to find their give a damn. Because their backs are now truly against the wall. I said it in the Toss blog. After game 3. Bucks' backs weren't against the wall, but they shouldn't exactly be feeling comfortable either. And you see the result in game 4. And now game 5. You're fighting for your playoff life. You've put yourself in a position where you need to win 3 straight, which has happened multiple times by the Bucks under Mike Budenholzer. They have won 3 straight playoff games. Multiple times. Most notably against the Suns in NBA Finals. But you need to find your give a damn. You need to find your IQ. And you need to find somebody outside of Giannis and outside of Lopez that's going to give you consistent offense. Because Bobby Portis hasn't been doing it. Now, yeah, he's had a good game. Overall, not that great this series. Drew, overall, not that great this series. Pat Connaughton, overall, not that great this series. Grayson Allen, overall, not that great this series. Javon Carter, overall, not that great this series. You have far too many guys on this deep of a team. Jay Crowder, not that great this series. Far too many guys on this deep team not giving you nearly enough. But yet, somehow, some way, you still had a double-digit lead in Game 4. But you give up 30 points in 6 minutes to the Miami Heat to dig yourself a seemingly insurmountable hole at 3-1. Fighting for your playoff life from here to the end of the series. Highly irritated. Let's move on from one irritating situation to another irritating situation that has now found a resolution. Finally, we're talking the Green Bay Packers here on Tall State of the State. It's official. Finally, the trade that everyone thought was going to happen finally happened. Aaron Rodgers, now a New York Jet, following in the footsteps of Brett Favre, going to the Jets. The compensation for the deal. The Jets will get Aaron Rodgers, obviously. Green Bay's first-round pick in 2023, which is 15th overall, and also their fifth-round pick this year. The Packers, who essentially got a rebuild package, they get the 13th pick in this year's draft. So the Jets' first-round pick, 13th overall. This year's second-round pick, this year's sixth-round pick, but also a conditional second-round pick in 2024, which then becomes a first-round pick if Aaron Rodgers plays 65% of the snaps. Now, all the conversations I've had with people in the know about this situation said that was really the major holdup, was the draft capital, the compensation. The Packers really wanted 2-1 straight up. Jets really were really willing to part with 2 straight up ones, because if you remember, Rodgers said he was about 90% retired when he went into that darkness retreat. He was dead set, about 90% out the door. So Jets wanted some assurance that, okay, look, we'll take the trade, but we can't give up 2 ones. We'll put a condition on this that if he plays 65% of the snaps, which means, he's got to be durable and he's got to be there. He's got to mentally be there, and he's got to be playing well. And if he plays 65% of the snaps, we'll make it a 1, and that's the condition. So based on what I've been told, that was really the big holdup. They didn't want to give up 2 straight up 1s. They made that second potential 1 conditional. If Rodgers stays healthy, something tells me he will play 65% of the snaps for the New York Jets. On one hand, it's a very sad situation because it's Aaron Rodgers, and you're talking 18 years. 18 years of Hall of Fame quarterback play, 4-time MVP, world champion. Made this team dangerous. Very dangerous. There was fear from every other team that this team went up against because they had 12 under center. I know Richard Sherman saying that, no team is going to fear the Packers because they don't have Aaron Rodgers. It's like, well, at the same time, it's like, dude, did you watch this past season? He was under center the entire year, and they went 8-9 with him. I don't think any team had any real fear because they knew that it was just not a good situation for the Packers or Aaron Rodgers. They both wanted to be rid of each other, and you saw that spill out onto the field. You could tell it by the way that teams played against them. They had no fear going into Lambeau to go and get the win. Look at the Jets, the very team that he is now a part of. Came in there and snatched their soul. I mean, it was a situation that needed to be done. For as grateful as Rodgers is about his time in Green Bay, and you could go on his Instagram and see his thank yous and, you know, his goodbye to Green Bay. And, you know, he said, oh, I'll see you later. You're always in my heart and this, that, and the third. And I don't doubt him, but everything that happened last season, you just felt like he did not want to be there. Green Bay really didn't want him to be there. Neither one of them will come out and flat out say that. And now that divorce is official. So yeah, it's a little bit sad to see a guy that you watched grow up in the game and become one of the very best, lead your team to a lot of success, go and be on someone else's team and potentially lead them to some success. Yeah, it's very sad. Like I said, I will always respect and love Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback, what he's done on the field. One of the all-time great Green Bay Packers, one of the all-time great quarterbacks, period. I don't give a damn what you say. So, yeah, it's a little bit sad to see him go. And it's a little bit sad to see the relationship between himself and the franchise dissolve. But as I said before, and I'll always say, I am with the Green Bay Packers first. And they feel that they have something in Jordan Love that they need to find out if it's true, if it's real, will it come to fruition or not? The kid obviously has a lot of talent. You don't trade back up into the first round to go and get him. If you didn't believe that he had talent, that could make him a really good quarterback in this league. Now, nobody's expecting him to be Hall of Fame. I don't want that narrative to be out there that Green Bay Packers are. Well, maybe some of them are, because I've talked to some and delusions of grandeur. You cannot come in expecting Hall of Fame anything from any position. It doesn't work that way. But you've come off of back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks in Favre, Rodgers. And for some people, you would naturally assume that, hey, Love is the next one in line. I'm not thinking that. Because I didn't even think that Aaron Rodgers would be a Hall of Famer. I felt that he had talent. I felt that he could be very good. I felt that Mike McCarthy would be very good for him, given his offense and what they were trying to do. The offensive talent they had around him, I felt that could work. I had no idea it would work to a Hall of Fame level. What I hoped for Aaron Rodgers coming off of Brett Favre is the same thing I'm hoping for Jordan Love coming off of Aaron Rodgers. I feel that Matt LaFleur's offense is going to be very good. You're going to see the real Matt LaFleur offense. Love has been within that system for 3 going on 4 years now. You have to believe that he has a mastery of it now. He understands what LaFleur wants, what they're trying to accomplish, what they're trying to do. I feel that you will see a true Matt LaFleur offense. Because that's not really something you saw very much with Rodgers under center. A lot of those plays were changed because at the end of it, Rodgers was the quarterback. He's going to make that final call. You could call in the play all you want. But if Rodgers sees something different, he's going to get out of it. And a lot of times that's exactly what he did. I'm not saying that Jordan Love won't get out of plays when he feels that the defense is doing something different and it's going to ruin what they're trying to do. That's what quarterbacks are supposed to do. But I think you're going to see much more of the play calls that are called by LaFleur come to fruition on the field. That's what you'll get out of Jordan Love. You get athleticism. Kid's got a big arm. They have to continue to build this offense around him. But again, LaFleur is trying to really run what Shanahan is doing in San Francisco. They want to run the rock first. And they established a run, again, with one of the better running back tandems in all of the league in Jones and Dillon. Get those guys lathered up, get them going. This offensive line was healthy, one of the very best in the NFL. You get that run game going, it's going to open things up for Jordan Love. And you got playmakers. You got Christian Watson. You got Romeo Doubs. It's not like you're completely devoid of offensive talent. You're not. Could you always add more? Absolutely you can. And I think they'll look to do that. But at the very beginning of this Jordan Love era, which we're in now, you're going to have to deal with a lot of ground and pound, and you're going to have to beef up that defense. You're going to have to play smash mouth football until he really gets more comfortable being the starter, being with that first team, getting those starter reps every single week, getting more comfortable, seeing game action every single week. There may be some lean times. There were lean times when Favre first started. There were lean times when Aaron Rodgers first started. I fully expect there to be lean times with Jordan Love now starting. Patience. I'm excited. Again, it's a little bit sad to see Rodgers go, but I feel it's the best thing for him. It's the best thing for the franchise. I'm excited to see what Jordan Love's going to bring to the table and what kind of a team this is going to be now. I think we're truly going to see the vision come to fruition. So sad times, exciting times, but always remember, patience. It's going to take some time. Draft capital is important. Packers are going to use that. They're going to build around Jordan Love. Love's going to continue to improve. The roster's going to continue to improve. And eventually this team is going to be one to be reckoned with. But it's going to take a little bit of time. So everyone's going to have a lot of patience. And that's state of the state. Absolutely pissed off and perturbed at the Bucks for coughing up that double-digit lead to the Heat, digging themselves a 3-1 hole, 30 points in 6 minutes. Good grief. Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers, the saga is over. Rodgers now a Jet. Packers getting draft capital. It's the Jordan Love era. Hey, get on board or get lost. It's time for us to run the toss sweep. Facebook.com/TON-Sports-Show. That's TON Sports Show. Toss on Facebook page. Dang, I can't even speak. We touch on things there that we don't get a chance to here on the show. That's Facebook.com/TON-Sports-Show. That's TON Sports Show. What have I been telling y'all about the XFL all season as I've been covering it on the Toss blog on TossSectionMedia.com and right here on Toss, Tristain on Sports Show? What have I been telling y'all? I've been telling y'all that if you've been sleeping on the XFL, you've been playing yourself. A fantastic season, regular season, comes to a close. this past weekend, as we went through week 10 with a lot at stake, the Roughnecks of Houston were fighting. Well, actually, no, they weren't fighting. They had already assured their spot in the South Division Championship game and home field for that game. Arlington was the ones that were fighting to keep their spot in the playoffs. If you don't know about the XFL, the top two teams in each division, there are two divisions, the North and the South, make the playoffs. That's it. 4 teams out of the 8 make the playoffs for the North and South Division Championship game for the rights to go to the XFL Championship in May. The South was very much up for grabs as far as the second spot. Arlington had not been playing well, the Renegades. They kept losing. Brahmas, they kept losing, but then they would win, and then they would hang around other teams. And they because Arlington kept losing, it kept the San Antonio Brahmas involved. It kept them in it. The Brahmas had to win a game against DC, the class of the XFL, who had already assured themselves the best record in the league, who had already assured themselves home field advantage for the North Division Championship, who had who had really nothing to play for other than stacking another win on the board and staying sharp. The Brahmas had everything on the line. If they won and Arlington lost, you go through the tiebreakers, and San Antonio had as good of a chance to make it as anyone. Well, they lose to DC, and because they lost to DC, Arlington backs their way into the playoffs. Bob Stoops' crew. Arlington faced the Roughnecks in Week 10. (25-9) score there. They'll face the Roughnecks again for the South Division Championship on Saturday. I think they kept things pretty vanilla, both teams. But it's going to be an all-out clash in the postseason on Saturday. That should be a good one, but it's not the one I'm really looking forward to. As I mentioned before, DC had already locked up their home field advantage and best record in the XFL for the North Division Championship. They were just waiting to see who their opponent was going to be. The candidates for that second spot in the playoffs in the North Division: St. Louis Battlehawks, Seattle Sea Dragons. Both squads came in to Week 10 at 6-3. Both teams needing a win, but you needed certain things with that win. It came down to tiebreakers with these two, because if they both would have won, it comes down to tiebreakers. And the XFL has a lot of tiebreakers to decide. Now, both these teams, Seattle, St. Louis, matched in the first 4 tiebreakers and went to the 5th. But before we get to that part, St. Louis had to win, but they had to keep as many points off the board as possible. Against the Guardians. And the Guardians, who were looking to find another upset, the only team in the league to have beaten DC all year. DC went 9-1. Orlando was winless at the time that they beat the Defenders. They were looking to do it again, but they couldn't get the job done. But what they did do, they did not get the win, but they did do damage to the Battlehawks' playoff hopes, because they put up 28 points. The only hope that the Battlehawks had was to keep points off the board because that would have been the fifth tiebreaker. It comes down to defensive points allowed. And we know Seattle has one of the better defenses in all the league, and St. Louis, not quite on that level. So they had to keep as many points off the board, but unfortunately they gave up 28. St. Louis got the win, but they gave up 28 points. So now they're going to have to sweat it out. Now they have to hope for a flat-out loss, which would be great because that means, boom, automatically in. Or Seattle could get the win, but they had to give up. It had to be a shootout, and that's what they were hoping for. Hope Seattle gives up a ton of points so they can sneak in there. Well, that didn't happen. Seattle handled business, won the ball game. Defense was good, as they have been all season. At times, the Seattle's defense has carried them. Both Seattle and St. Louis end up with 7-3 records to end the season. But Seattle is 7-3 and in the postseason, as opposed to St. Louis, who is 7-3 and out the postseason. It just goes to show you how good the North Division was this season in the XFL. So now you have the setup for the game I'm most looking forward to. That'll happen on Sunday, the North Division Championship, again, for the rights to go to the XFL Championship. The DC Defenders, again, who have been the class of the league since week 1, going up against a lurking monster, and I said this weeks ago in the Toss blog, Seattle Sea Dragons. Sea Dragons are 0-2 against DC, but they lost by a combined 5 points in those 2 ball games. It's as close can get. Will the third time be the charm? Man, that game is truly a toss-up. It might turn out to be a defensive slugfest. We know DC's run game is second to none. It was better than everyone's. But the team that has played them well, even though they haven't beat them, but the team that's played them the best has been Seattle. Seattle has given them fits. But in the end, I think DiNucci is going to turn the ball over at a critical moment of the ball game, as he has done all season, and they will not be able to get away with it. DC's game travel, even though they're at home, play tough defense, run the football. We know DC can do both. I think DC wins the North Division Championship and goes on to the XFL Championship. And in the South, Arlington has not been playing well. They've gone through their quarterback carousel. They've now landed on Luis Perez. Yes, AAF, American Alliance of Football legend. Now slinging it around in the XFL. Yes, he's giving them a small bit of stability at the quarterback spot, but you're talking Wade Phillips, defensive mastermind. I know the Roughnecks haven't been playing that well either, but I think they have their stuff together a little bit more than does Arlington. I say the Roughnecks will win the South Division Championship and advance to the XFL Championship to give you a matchup of quite possibly the 2 best teams in all the XFL in Houston and DC, going at it in San Antonio, the Alamo Dome, XFL Championship in May. Looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. It's been a fantastic season of football for the XFL. Now we're in postseason. I'm hoping for some drama. I'm hoping for some close games. I'm hoping for some penalty kick style overtimes. Give me the chaos. I'm all for it. Love you, XFL. All right, y'all. That'll do it for me. That was episode 132. Pissed and perturbed of Toss the Tristain on Sports Show. You know where to find me on social media at the20double on Twitter and on Instagram. That's at the number 2, the number 0, the word double. At T Squared on Fanbase. Follow me there. Facebook.com/T on Sports Show. That's TON Sports Show. It's the Toss Facebook page. We touch on a lot of things there that we don't get a chance to here on the show. That's Facebook.com/T on Sports Show. That's TON Sports Show. And of course, Toss Nation Media. Your home for the Toss brand of sports. Truthful, opinionated, passionate sports is what you deserve. TossNationMedia.com. Can't even speak anymore, so that means it's time for me to get on up out of here. It's T Squared, Tristan Thomas, reminding all of you to keep it moving forward. Always forward. Forward always. Until next week. So long from Toss.